Hey tubers! Happy New Year! For the beginning project this year, I want to start out with this 200X motor. The TRX200SX is one of my favorite all-terrain vehicles. It's light, it's maneuverable, one could pick it up and put it down if they have to rearrange themselves on a trail. Given how light it is, this engine has enough power. It's only 200 cc's. It's not a huge performance engine, but it's got plenty of power for hauling one about. This particular unit, I got it seized. This was a trade deal. I traded the rear end out of a TRX250 for it. That was kind of kicking around the driveway, getting itself in trouble. So got this from Don Johnson up from the Albany area. You could see somebody did a spray paint on it. Right, I think it's an 86. So I already told you that it was seized, and I gotta tell you, it's got some red death on it. That I don't think that's an OEM gasket. So somebody's been in here. There are no tires on it. Generally speaking, it doesn't look that dented up, right? Normally they get dented up along here. I already pulled the rear end out of it. It was in okay shape. Once again, I told you it's seized, but you guys could see the red death on it. So once again, somebody was in here. A lot of times when people are in here, they don't necessarily put the clutch together like it should be put together and so forth. So one has to be careful how much money you put in, because you can find yourself like replacing the top end perhaps for the seizure, and then discover that you're missing some clutch components and so forth. So once again, I get a little nervous about these engines where somebody's already futzed around. For me, if all I get out of it is parts, it's a wonderful thing, like the recoil starter, right? The electric starter, hopefully it's good. But let's find out why it's seized first of all, and then we'll figure out what, if we're going to part it or if we're going to bring it back to life. As I'm looking this over to figure out what tools I need, I mean, it appears as if somebody might have had this engine off recently, right? It's missing a bolt down here. That's tight. That's tight. I don't know. We'll see. Getting the engine loose is easy enough. 4 bolts. 1 bolt there. 5, 6, and that one's already missing. So just 7 bolts, right? I have a tendency to use vice grips to kind of back them up, and then, you know, they come off easy enough. The engine is loose, and I just want to take a second to point this out. This is fragile. Don't break this. And this part is expensive. So if you break it, good luck finding it. You probably have to build your own. So plan your moves. One hand here on the starter, and I have a tendency to put the other hand up on the head, a couple of fingers into the exhaust, as a matter of fact, to kind of get a good grip on it. Obviously swing the cable out of the way if at all possible, right? Get as much out of the way as possible, because this motor isn't 100 pounds, but it's the major part of that. Here we are, managed to get the engine inside, and once again it's seized, right? You want to get the basket off the recoil starter. I don't shoot too many videos inside. I've got a light here. Hopefully it's doing a good enough job. You got to kind of do a few of these before you could look your stuff over and say, oh, I could do the following to improve, right? Some people shoot inside all the time. I normally shoot outside, so light isn't one of those things you think about. But if people can't see what you're up to, what are you shooting a video for? So here we are. Some of you guys mentioned that my sound and visuals are not in sync. Yeah, unfortunately I've worked on that and I can't seem to do anything with it, so sorry about that. A few things. One of the bolts was missing. This one was missing. Sometimes when you have that, you leak more oil. Alright, let's put a wrench on that, see if we can't break it loose or something. Alright, let's put a wrench on this, see what we got going on. So, turning it counterclockwise, facing that, is the way it normally turns. I don't want to force it too much, just in case the valves are banging. So let's go the other way. Oh, it'll turn the other way. Yeah, then it hits again. My guess, and we've looked at this motor, is it jumped on, but we're going to open it up and figure out what's going on. Next up, let's get the spark plug out. And if it is in fact hitting valves, it would do that when the piston comes to the top. So theoretically it stopped. Move that away a little bit, and then we'll see if it hits when the piston is all the way up on top. So I think the first time we looked at this wire tells me where my piston is, and my piston appears to be down, nowhere near the valves, and I appear to be stuck. I think this thing might have thrown a rod. Surprise! Now the way to figure out what's going on is one really needs to take the head off of this thing and see if things are moving around. I'm probably going to have to do the starter first. Okay, see my hand? There are two bolts here. You got to get the starter gear out of the way. Then we could get the starter off. So we'll do that first. Pop the head off, and then we'll kind of be able to see a little bit more what's going on. We'll also, with the starter off, be able to turn things around a little easier. I won't be fighting the starter clutch. Getting the starter out. Right, these things have a tendency to get rounded. That one's okay. Yeah, this one's rounded. So this is one of those impact drivers. Wow, this one's fighting me. Yep, there it goes. Yeah, one of my subscribers recommended that I get my impact driver out and start using it. He was right. It does make life a little easier. You want to, when you take these out, you want to make sure there's like no shim that you lose there. Oh, let's get the starter off. Maybe the gear will pop out easier. Sometimes in the low clearance areas, the only thing that works well is a little breaker bar, right? You don't have that huge ratchet right there that works well for this back bolt on the starter. Right. So there we are. I can just back these out by hand. Okay, hopefully y'all can see everything. Few things, getting this out. Once again, watch out for losing shims. You really don't want to do that. So I took that out, took these two bolts out, took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts out, the skull caps off. Next to come up is the head with the valves. What I'm looking for is no, this is still part of the skull cap. Yeah, this is still part of the skull cap. So we'll get that off and we'll be able to look at the valve chain. By the way, it's pretty clean up here, right? Doesn't look too horrible. It doesn't smell bad. It doesn't smell like a blown up engine. So maybe, God, we'll see what happened. Okay, so lower skull cap is off. Timing chain looks good. Let's put this somewhere where it's not going to get too much trouble. Let me try turning it over and watching. Yeah, so the valve chain is turning. The valves are closed at this point, right? The followers and all are gone. By the way, it doesn't feel too bad. Valves don't look too bad. Cam doesn't look bad. Interesting. So let's. It won't let me turn it. It seems to be. Once again, the valves are closed, so it must be. I don't know, binding up against the piston. The chain is way too tight. The timing chain is crazy tight. I don't know, I'm gonna have to explore this a little bit. This is strange. This is getting to be a bit of a surprise. So the timing chain appears to be bound, like it's too tight. I'm going to take the adjuster off here and see what's going on. That's just strange. I don't know, maybe when they took the engine apart and put it together wrong, they messed something up. So as I'm loosening this up, it appears to be crazy tight. They might have just put this together wrong. Boy, wouldn't that be a win? Yeah, it's making me back these all the. There shouldn't be that much tension on this. on goes the furnace. Hopefully you're able to still hear. I know you can see. Yeah, I think you guys know, right? What you should do is loosen this up, and as you seat this all the way in, you kind of let it go, and the spring pushes back out, right? Well, let's see if it'll turn a little easier. So it all looks good up here, and down there, but even with the tensioner released, this chain is too tight. Just way too tight. I don't know, maybe they put it together wrong. But that chain is just crazy too tight. So here are the cam bearings. This guy, and then this one, and the other half is over here. So I'm going to take these two out. It just seems like there's so much tension on this. Given that the followers and all are out, all that's out, right? The valves are closed. I don't know, maybe they just put something together wrong. This is just strange. Okay, so I took the cam out. I put a wire on the chain, right, so it doesn't fall in. And I took the bolts out, 2, 4, 6, and give it a little tappy. Looks like the head's ready to come off. That's a good thing. Let's try not to drop any bolts in. And see, we have the timing chain here. Now, here, let me show you. The piston is going up and down. So anyway, I'm able to, I got my finger around the chain so it doesn't bind, but I'm able to, you know, spin the piston up and down, but it seems to be binding there. Seems to be binding on the top and the bottom of the stroke for some reason. That's strange. I don't know. What the heck do we have going on here? So I just tried to get the piston out of the bore and it won't slide out. So you guys could see the old wood block there. While lifting this up, I'll have to give it a couple of whacks and see if I can't drive the piston out of there. Could it be I just have some weather on the bottom and the top of that? I don't know. Yeah, I missed my face, not by much. So, I don't know how well you can see in there. See the timing chain, the long one that comes up? That one goes to the valves, to the cam, then the valves. Then if you see one kind of off to the left, that one goes to the oil pump. And it appears to be jumped, and it appears to be binding against this chain. Everything else seems fine, right? The rings seem fine, the bore seems fine, the valves seem fine, the cam seems fine. It's just that. So at some point they had this off, right? You could see by the coloration. You know what? We're going to pull it off again and see what we can't see in there. So it looks like it chucked the oil pump chain. And you could see when I took the cover off, the sprocket fell out. So, and you could see it's binding up with the other guy in there. So that's what appears to have gone wrong. The motor otherwise looks good. I mean, the rings look good on there, right? I think I have another oil pump that we can smash on here. I got a little bit of the Valdez going on. Gonna have a mess to clean up. But anyway, so that's what this thing died of. Excuse me. I've never seen anything like this before. I don't know, maybe you guys have. I don't know. Maybe when they put it together they messed up. Or maybe there was enough material in the pump where it threw the impeller out, because there's the impeller. There's a flat side. I think I'm showing it to you there. So it just kind of goes on and locks itself in there, and I guess the cover holds it on. I don't know. I'm gonna have to dig around. I'm gonna consider that oil pump dead, and I don't know if I'm gonna replace it with a new one or a clone or one. I do have one block that appears to have the oil pump and the chain and all in decent shape, so I'm gonna go give that a sniff when it's time to put this back together again. So anyway, I'd like to hear what you guys think, especially Don Johnson. That's where this motor came from. Maybe he has an idea what they did to it to get it to blow up. Anyway, in the meantime, I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch and comment and subscribe. Please remember, feet down, heads up, and get out there and enjoy each and every day. Bye now.